this video is about movies. I'm in a weird mood today. So this is my movie wrap up for the month of July. I have to say I did not watch a lot of movies this month. There were not a lot of movies that came out in theaters this month that I really wanted to see. I watched 7 movies this month. But I do also want to show you the movies that I rewatched this month, and then we will go on to those 7 movies. The Princess Diaries, The Princess Diaries 2, The Sound of Music, Space Jam, Bachelorette, Bridget Jones's Baby, Mamma Mia. And I don't know if I should count this as a movie, but I'm going to, just so I can say that I watched it, but it's a Harry Potter musical. Alright, so now let's talk about the new movies that I watched. The first one is Sorry to Bother You. This was an interesting movie. It definitely did not go where I thought it was gonna go. It got very weird and very dark. Was not expecting that at all. I'm trying very hard to not give away what happens with this movie. But just know it's very weird. Very weird. This, okay, how do I explain it without giving it away? It's like a dark comedy about this guy who is a, oh my god, what are those things called? Telecommuter? What are they called? The people who call you to try and sell you stuff. Those, I can't think of what they're called right now. This guy, he has that as his job, that's what he does, and he's really good at it because he uses his white voice. And he gets so good at it that he ends up becoming like a power caller and just selling expensive stuff. That's all I'll say about that. It is funny until like the end when it does get dark. I thought this movie had really great transitions, really great cinematography and use of color. It definitely did get too weird for me, I think. Not enough to have me walk out of the theater like I saw some people do. But it got weird. It got weird. I know I keep saying that, but it's so true. I don't know how else to explain it without, I don't know how else to say it without giving it away. I mean, it's definitely memorable. I don't think I'll ever watch it again, but it's memorable, for sure. I did think the storytelling did get a little bit messy at some times, but it was still very riveting. Still very riveting, still very engaging. Yeah. Still kept my attention. I will say, I did not expect Armie Hammer to be in this movie. I did not know Armie Hammer was going to be in this movie. But I'm happy he was. I liked Armie Hammer's character, even though he was supposed to be like the villain. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched is Set It Up. This is a Netflix movie that came out this month, and it was a rom-com, so I was down, as always. I always am to watch a rom-com. This is a rom-com about these 2 assistants to very big, like, bosses that are kind of obsessed with their work. And so the assistants meet and they decide they're gonna set their bosses up so that way they can have more time for their own lives, because right now their lives just consist of doing whatever their boss tells them to. It kind of turns into this cute romance. I very much enjoyed this movie. It was a cute rom-com, very light and fluffy, and I was just kind of in the mood for that. I mean, I thought the characters had really great chemistry. However, I thought Taye Diggs and Lucy Liu, as much as I do like them in other stuff, I felt like in this movie they were just a little too over the top. And I'm not sure if they were trying to do that on purpose, but I just felt like they were trying to make it campy when I don't think this rom-com was meant to be campy. So it was just, there was that like weird, like, not balance, because the main 2 characters were not over the top or campy, but I felt like Taye Diggs and Lucy Liu were over the top and campy, and it was just like very, it was weird. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched was Mamma Mia 2. Here we go again. And oh my god, I loved this movie. I mean, I loved the first one. These are just really fun movies. And the second one, just as fun as the first. It just had a lot of charm to it. Like, it's got charm. I loved the story. I cried. I did my best not to cry, but it happened. Mainly just because of like the mother-daughter aspect of the story. It's so beautiful. I love that that part of the movie. The choreography was definitely bigger and better. We had a bunch of new songs, which obviously I expected in a second movie. However, I did feel like they repeated too many songs. Like, I felt like there were 3 or 4 songs that were repeated from the first movie, and I just kind of like, can we just keep those songs in the first movie? Do we really need to sing them again in the second movie? This was an emotional thrill ride, emotional roller coaster. I definitely did see the inconsistencies of the first movie, just because I watched the first movie right before I saw the second one, and there were a lot of inconsistencies. So I was like, wait a minute. Didn't they say this in the first movie? Didn't they do this in the first movie? Why are they now like saying that didn't happen? Or like, why are they, I don't know. It was just, there were some inconsistencies with the first movie. Like, they pretty much hinted in the first movie that Meryl Streep's mom was dead. But in the second movie, Meryl Streep's mom shows up. Which I also have to say is another thing. Like, I love Cher, and I think Cher was perfect for the role. However, Cher is only 3 years older than Meryl Streep, and it's just like, is that very realistic that she could be Meryl Streep's mom? I don't think so. So that was hard to believe as well. The cast was amazing, though. The cast was so good. I did think the guy who played young Harry was not the greatest. Singing-wise and acting-wise, I felt like they could have done someone better. Sorry, person who played him. I think you're great, you're handsome, but I think you weren't perfect for the role, if that makes any sense. But everyone else was absolutely great for the role. And yeah, I had fun with this. That's pretty much all this movie is supposed to be. It's supposed to be for enjoyment and fun, and I definitely had a great time. So yeah, I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched is Fairly Lethal. This movie came out in, I believe, 2015, and it is about a girl who is trained to be like an agent for CIA, FBI, something like that, or like trained to be like an assassin. It's kind of along those lines, but she has decided, she faked her own death, and she wants to just live like a normal teenage girl. So she like goes to high school, she finds a family to live with. It's a great concept, but I don't think this did a great job. This kind of felt like it was supposed to be like a Disney Channel original movie, just like some like Disney TV movie, but it had like PG-13 elements to it, so it was kind of confusing. Because even though like it felt like a Disney kids movie, there was like cursing in it, so it was just like, wait, what? And I felt like the acting was meh. I was surprised with the amount of actors in it that I knew. Like, there were actually a pretty decent amount of good actors in this, but they did not do a great job in this movie. Mainly, I think her name is Sophie Turner. She's in Game of Thrones. She does great in Game of Thrones in the episodes that I've seen, but she was the worst in this movie. Like, she was so flat, no personality whatsoever. Like, she did not do a good job in this movie. And like the writing wasn't that great either, and it was very cliche. There was just a lot wrong with this movie. I mean, I still like enjoyed the story, I just don't think they did a good job with it. So it wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. It was just like basic. So I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched is a Disney Channel original movie, and that is Zombies. This came out last year, and I wanted to watch it last year, but I just kind of, after a while, forgot about it. And then it came back on my radar, and I was like, oh, that's right, I wanted to see this. So I watched it. I enjoyed it, but it is definitely more for kids. Zombies had come about in the world, and this is taking place 50 years after zombies came into the world, and they're starting to now integrate the schools, like put zombies and humans in a school together. We follow a zombie and a human that fall in love, and they help bring the world together because there are still a lot of people that are against zombies and then zombies that are against humans. It's very cute. It is very over the top though, like very over the top in the acting, but also in the storytelling. Like they were like banging you over the head like, this zombies and humans live differently. Like everything is different between the two people. Like I just felt like I get it. I get it. You don't need to keep banging me over the head with it. I also just found it funny that like it was cheerleading that brought zombies and humans together. Sorry. It was cheerleading that brought them together. I'm sorry. That was like ridiculous. And so funny. To the point where I kind of loved it. The songs and the choreography were definitely the best part of this movie. They were so good. However, I did feel like they repeated songs way too much. Like the finale, everyone come together in this cheer competition song was like, we already sang this song. Why is this the epic finale song? Like, we already sang this song. My favorite songs and my favorite choreography were definitely the ones between just the guy and the girl, because they were like so simple, but yet so cool. I don't know how to explain it. I really liked whenever just the two of them were together singing and dancing. It was also a very bright movie. Like it was pinks, blues, greens, like, and they were like pastel pinks, pastel blues, like the pastel-y colors, which I love. I love the pastel colors. And it was a very bright movie. The ending, it ended too neatly and too nicely, especially since like the topic was about integration, and it's never that easy. I didn't mind the acting. I thought it was pretty decent especially for a Disney Channel original movie. I enjoyed it. So I definitely did have fun watching this movie. I could definitely see why it's like for kids and not adults. But I still had a very fun time watching it, and I honestly would not mind watching it again, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched is Brain on Fire. This is a Netflix movie. I can't remember if it came out this month or if it came out the month before, but it did come out recently. This is based on a true story about this woman who had like a brain condition that all the doctors were like so confused over and couldn't find out what was wrong. It was a very interesting story, but told in a very boring way. It was very slow-paced, it was lacking something, and it just kept dragging on. Like, I don't think it got interesting and compelling until the doctor that is going to solve it came into the picture. Like, I obviously knew that once this doctor came, I was like, he's solving it. He's gonna fix everything. But that wasn't until like maybe 20 minutes until the movie ended. I definitely feel like the beginning could have been condensed. That is for sure. It didn't need all of that. The acting was pretty subdued, but so was the movie, so I'm not sure if that was the director's fault or the actor's fault. I thought Chloe did a great job, but everyone else I felt like just, it needed more. This movie, the acting, like everything just needed more from it. But yeah, so I wasn't too happy with this movie. I didn't feel like I needed to watch it, but I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And the last movie that I watched was Puzzle. And this is about a woman who, you know, she has a husband, 2 kids, she leads a very boring life, she doesn't really do a lot, she hasn't seen much of the world, but then she enters this, like, jigsaw puzzle competition with another person, and she finds such enjoyment out of it, just doing a puzzle, and she does it very well. She does a very good job at puzzling. But it's more so about her life and I guess realizing that she's stuck and trying to get out of it, if that makes any sense. It was very slow paced, but I felt that kind of worked with the story, so I didn't mind it. However, because it was slow paced, I did feel like it was a little bit too long, but I felt it worked. It worked, so I didn't mind it too much. Another thing, like, it didn't have a complete ending, and usually I don't like that, but again, I felt like that worked for this movie. This movie was puzzling. Trying with the puns here. It's a lot of things that I usually don't like in movies, but yet it worked with this one. So I'm like very confused. There is like an extra romance in this movie, and I felt like it was not needed at all. Like, they could have just stayed friends. There was no need to have that extra romance. They also, I don't feel like, built up to that romance very well. I really enjoyed the acting of this movie though. The acting was very well done. It was very like low-key acting, but yet massive at the same time. Yeah. I don't know how else to explain it. With this movie, I do want to talk about the score, because I felt like the music in the background, the score, I felt like it was good, but it also felt like it got a little bit too much at times. I enjoyed this movie, but there were a lot of things about this movie that I usually don't like in movies, but yet it worked with this one. So it is very confusing trying to like think about how I want to rate this movie. But ultimately, I'm just gonna give it a 3 out of 5 stars because I liked it, but I don't know. I'm just confused by it. And that is it for this video. I also, of course, did my book wrap up and my life wrap up for this month, so go check those out, and I will see you guys later with other videos. Bye!